We are very pleased to welcome today Stéphane Guillot for our seminar. So Stéphane is a geologist at ISTER, so the Earth Science Institute in Grenoble. And so he's a geologist, specialist in convergence zones. But he's also, since 2024, scientific delegate at the CNRS about the risk management and sustainable development. And this is why he's here today to talk about the CNRS commitments to the environmental transition. So thank you, Stéphane, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Melanie, to invite me. So yes, I will try to show you what we are doing in the CNRS about the environmental transition. And I will start, okay, we start about some facts, probably you know, because in CEREGE, a lot of people are working about environmental in general. But anyway, I think it's not so bad to remember what happened. Wow, okay. Okay, so you know that the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere continue to rise. You can see here, of course, I want to say the present day situation since 1980 up to now, more or less. What we know is that the current CO2 level are 50% above pre-industrial level. This is here, of course, you can see here. And of course, this is unprecedented on Earth in over 2 million years. And probably more important is that it's 10 times faster than over the 800,000 years. So it's a very incredible processes. The consequence of that, you know, the direct consequence of that is you have a strong increase of the temperature, the global temperature, since I want to say, of course, usually we use a pre-industrial time, but mostly since the end of the Second World here, and we reach or we cross the 1.5 degrees C global temperature 2 years ago in 2024, and probably this year we will go higher. Some model predict a temperature of about 1.6, maybe around 1.6, because you have El Nino events that start probably. I say probably. This is not, of course, right now we don't know exactly, but probably starting this summer. Anyway, so it's not easy, huh? Okay, so there is strong evidence that climate change have an effect, presently effect on the meteorology. For example, here, this is an example of last year, May 2025. The United Arab Emirates set a new record temperature in May with 51 degrees C. And the number of extremely hot days have almost doubled worldwide in 3 decades. So this is a direct effect of the climate change and the global temperature increase. France, like the rest of the world, is and will be affected by climate change. And you can see that the current data, what you can see here, is above the model, the general model developed by the IPCC. And it will be heading for an increase of temperature above 4 degrees in 2100. So, for example, it means that Aix-en-Provence will be at 50 degrees during the summer 2050. Not only Aix-en-Provence, of course, but a large part of France. We can have heat waves at 50 degrees. So similar that you have already on the Arabian plate. And it's quite difficult to survive and to live by 50 degrees. As you know, it's impossible for a human to live by 50 degrees. So you need to have a cooling system. Otherwise, we died, of course. Very interesting. So France and Europe is particularly exposed to climate change. We estimate that 87 millions of Europeans exposed to multiple natural hazards and related to climate change, such as heat waves, of course, submersion, because of course you have an increase of the sea level, and also you have an increase of the storm. You have also flooding, because you have extreme events of raining. And also you have shrinkage and swelling of clays. This is a huge problem, essentially in France. We estimate that 60% of the pollution is highly exposed to climatic risk in France, especially flooding and shrinkage and swelling of clays. It's because you have a strong increase of the extreme event in Europe. We estimate that this is between 4 and 5-fold increase in extreme events from 20,000 onward compared to the previous period. And we predict that in 2050, so it's soon, it's in 25 years, we estimated that there is an increase of 10 times or 10 folds of extreme events in 2050. So we have to adapt. Clearly, we have to adapt and of course decrease our CO2 budget right now. For example, you know, there is a very strong storm this winter affecting a large part of the western part of France, the storm Niels. It has been demonstrated by the people from IPSL, Institut Pierre Simon Laplace, that heavy precipitation in storm Niels mostly strengthened by human-driven climate change. Clearly, is something very unprecedented and is not a very I would to say, a normal event, clearly, in terms of the amount of water during this storm. Okay. Moreover, as you know, probably, I'm sorry, you will feel very depressed after my talk, but I will try to give you some opportunities and positive fact just after. Just to finish about the fact, the pressure also on the ecosystem increase. This is probably, of course, is discussing, but the ongoing extinction since 550 million years. So it's not so common to have such kind of extinction. It is demonstrated by the fact that a minimum of 10% of the world animal and plant species that we know right now are those to have disappeared since, I like to say, 600 years, something like that. And in Europe, 80% by mass of insects have disappeared in Europe in 30 years. The main cause are the destruction of natural habitats, so agriculture, infrastructures, fishing, deforestation, pollution of sea, rivers, soil and air, and of course, invasive species, and the last parameter is the climate change. In the CNRS, we start to evaluate our impact of a research activity on the biodiversity. We calculate this as what we call the biodiversity score, and we estimate that our research activity destroy every year the equivalent of 2 kilometers square of natural area. So of course we have to reduce this parameter. The economists say also something very interesting. Without major global action now, estimate total cost of climate change impact by 2050. So as I already said, in 25 years, it's very soon. We estimated that it will cost between 19 to 59,000 billions per year. So that's mean between 11 and 29 of the GDP. It's enormous. And there is new model for the guy from Stanford, a young economist, French economist that are in Stanford, estimated that probably this is more higher than this amount of money. And with strong inequality, it's important to notice that, of course, the northern country will have an increase of the capacity to have money. Otherwise, Occidental countries such as France, Germany, USA, we have a strong decrease of about 10% or something like that. And of course, the south country will be more impacted by climate change. So we are, of course, involved in this project of climate change because we have a strong imprint by our activity. The imprint of the CNRS is about, as you can see here, per year. The total activities is estimated at about 450,000 tons of equivalent CO2. It means that every researcher, engineering, every employers of CNRS, the amount of CO2 that we produce per person is estimated at about 15 ton CO2 equivalent that you have to compare with the average of France, that is of about 9 ton of equivalent CO2. So our activity is quite high. So it suggests that as a researcher, as an engineer, you have to double the two to do these two parameters. So each person in this room have a CO2 equivalent impact of about 25, more or less 25 tons of CO2. So it's quite high. Mostly, our impact is related to laboratory equipment, because it's what we call the scope 3, external CO2 production. We don't produce such a CO2 in France because we bought equipment coming from everywhere in the world, and these equipment have been produced everywhere in China or whatever. So it's not direct in Europe. We don't release in France direct CO2, but we produce somewhere, as when we buy an equipment, we produce somewhere CO2 in another country, in a foreign country. So it's a very important fact. This is the most important effect on our carbon footprint. The second one is what we call the non-capital purchase. That is mostly the consumable. The consumable account for the largest share of emission. And of course, usually we have a lot of discussion about emission, home working, commuting, and energy consumption. And you can see that for the CNRS, it's quite low. It's only 20%. And much of the effort, and I don't say that we don't have to make effort about decrease the emission, for example, especially, of course, the air travel. But this is not the main way to reduce our emission. Okay, the main way to reduce is to reduce, of course, the consumable and the equipment. This is the only way to reduce our carbon footprint. I will come about this just after. So what is the possible answer? The first thing is what are the challenge and gap in setting sustainability goals? First, we need to break down intellectual barriers. This is the first thing that we have to do together. A common place addressed by some researchers, not of all, of course, is if a European researcher is not to be innovative and creative and remains competitive at international level, we must continue to invest in new equipment and new building. We must continue to publish intensively. We must continue to participate in numerous international conferences. To sum up, we need to consume a lot, whatever the carbon footprint. This is a way that some people are thinking in the CNRS or at the university in general. But on the other hand, CNRS and university, we must be exemplary in sustainability and set an example for the rest of the society. This is our duty to do that, and not to continue as usual. Okay. For that, there is first a declaration of commitment. It has been done by the CEO of different organizations in France. It was 2 years ago. The declaration of commitment by National Research Organization organized in Paris. So you recognize, of course, CNRS, but also IRD, INSERM, IFROMER, and so on. And also ANR. I will discuss a little bit about the ANR just after. In line with France's goal of carbon neutrality by 2050, we need to mobilize our research team to develop solutions that promote socio-ecological transition. So this is the first things. We have to do research related to environmental transition. But the other hand, we have also to commit us, it commits us to rethinking our working method when necessary. So we have to work on 2 ways. To develop, of course, research related to environmental transition. It's what you do every day here in the CEREGE, but also to rethinking how we work, how we can reduce our impact each day. So the CNRS has integrated the Sustainable Development Goals in its political research and its organization. In the previous contract of objective and performance, we state around 6 societal challenge. The first one is Earth and environment, energy transition, climate change. But also, this contract also commits the establishment to the state to mitigate our environmental impact. And for that, we create in 2020 an internal roadmap and sustainable development committee to develop a structured and proactive action to integrate sustainable development into the operation of the institution and its laboratory. So we start 6 years ago, and I'm pretty sure that you don't see the effect right now, not so much. And if you say that, I will be very agree with you, because it's quite complicated to change a very big administration. CNRS is about 30,000 people. We have more 1,000 laboratories. So a very big administration, very slow administration. So it's quite complicated to change rapidly the way we work, the way we have the administration and so on. So it really takes time. And anyway, so what we are doing, you understand what we are doing to organize and to promote the sustainability in the CNRS. So we have a national committee in Paris. We have 5 people, a group that increased. When I arrived at this job 2 years ago, we are only 3. Now we have 5 people. So we organize formation. We start to develop some tools. I will show you just after. We have also a lot of discussion with the ministry, our ministry, also with ANR, also with Europe. So to promote sustainability in terms of tools, but also in terms of budget and so on. So we spent a lot of time, and it's very necessary to have contact with a lot of people to try to improve and to promote sustainability. So we have different committees I don't want to discuss here. What probably is the most important for us is this committee, because we work in Paris with a functional advisor that is a purchase, mission, and building. Because if we want to change very deeply and to promote the sustainability, you have to work with the people that buy the equipment, the people that rebuild or repair the building and so on. So it's quite important. It's not only the research that here in the laboratory, but at the national level, we clearly need to work with the administration, I want to say. Otherwise, nothing will happen. And of course, we have a sustainability national network. We have a scientific reference, representative of the 10 institutes of the CNRS. For INSU, this is Thierry Pellarin. He is in Grenoble, working on that. And also we have people in the delegation. Right now, in every delegation in France, we have people, probably you don't know. So they work mostly with the university to try to improve, of course, and to promote sustainability. Maybe you know this file and this document. In 2025, we wrote, it's not a book, is a master plan, Sustainable Development and Social Responsibility Master Plan. You can find it. This is online. Here you can find the PDF. And in this plan, we have a systematic approach to impact and action. So we have 4 axes about the governance, the research, the environment, and the social responsibility. And in this plan, we propose 25 topics. I will discuss this just after, and of about 100 actions. This plan was voted by the Administration Council of the CNRS. So this is a strong involvement of the CNRS to do in this direction. It's not only a plan to do like this, just some suggestion. It's something that you have to promote and to engage for the future, and we start to engage for the future in the CNRS. I don't have time to discuss all, because you can go, of course, you can download the document. But you see, we have a lot of things to do. Of course, measuring footprints is essential to know where we are and how we go. We also have, it's quite important to develop sustainable procurement, risk assessment. I will come again about this point. Of course, mobilize the network. This is quite important to have a regionalization of the transition. It's not the same when you are here in Aix rather than in Strasbourg or I don't know, in Brest or Rennes. We have some aspect about preserving water, preserving soil and biodiversity, reducing the pollution, try to, of course, have sustainable travel, sustainable homework mobility, and so on. And also, of course, research. We have a lot of projects about research in sustainability. We try also to develop environmental ethics. We do that about formation, sensibilization, and so on. So a lot of things. And of course, the last point is about the human resource to engage, of course, people in the transition. Okay. So this is what we have to do. And this is really complicated. If you want to reduce by 2050 substantially our carbon footprint, you can see that it's not enough to reduce energy emission and home working because it's quite low. And of course, and this is not probably the most difficult. The most difficult is to reduce this one, the equipment, the purchase of equipment, and the non-capital purchase, that is mostly the consumable. This is really complicated because to do research, you need, of course, we need equipment and we need consumable. And so this is the most difficult part if you want to clearly decrease and to have an effect on our carbon footprint. Right now, we do not succeed, definitively. We do not succeed because if you are looking the carbon footprint evolution of the CNRS between 2019 and 2022, we increase. We have to decrease, but we increase of plus 3% of carbon footprint. We reduce some parameters. You can see that we are reducing, for example, homework commuting of about 41%. It's quite important. We reduce, or you reduce car use. We increase the use of soft mobility, bus, bicycle, carpooling, and so on. We also reduce the mission, clearly. We have a strong reduction in the number of international missions and increases the proportion of air rail travel in Europe. Definitively, it works. It's very clear. What we reduce also, this is energy. We have no more oil-fired power station in the laboratory in France, belonging to the CNRS. Huh? I speak only of the building that belongs to the CNRS. And of course, we start insulating our building and clean rooms also. But the problem is, as you can see, that we have more money during this period. We have more money, so we increase non-capital purchase, and of 37% is quite high. And also we increase the laboratory equipment. And for the next years, I'm probably very pessimist because with the PEPR, we'll discuss about the PEPR, we have a lot of money. And so a part of the PEPR is dedicated to human resource, but also a part of the PEPR is dedicated to consumable and equipment. And we receive a lot of money, about 1 billion, something like that. So I know I will be very pessimist because whatever the effort we are doing, we will increase this part, definitively. So I think it's quite difficult to be engaged in the transition, as I showed you just before. So whatever we continue to do something, to try to have action to reduce our environmental impact. And this is very new. We start this year about the increase. This is the first part. At the national level, we increase the proportion of environmental clauses in our purchasing processes. And associated with that, we are working with the supplier. That's very important. So this is the first point. As you know, everywhere, and especially at INSU, but it's not only INSU, it's also true in biology, in physics, and chemistry, and so on. We are developing share in instrumental platform. And now we have a team, a new team. This is about 20, 25 people coming from Lyon, from Paris, from Strasbourg, everywhere in France. We have a team that's working on a new tool at the scale of the whole research institution in France, with a new tool that is Open Matos. This is a tool that is equivalent to the Bon Coin, if you want, to share instrument, to buy instrument, to exchange, and so on. So I hope so. We have a first version of this instrument, I want to say, between the end of this year and the beginning of the next year. So the idea is that on the site, not at the scale of the laboratory, because I know I discussed just before, you will have very soon the Matostech when you have no more problem with computing and so on. So at the scale of the laboratory, you can do that with a Matostech to exchange and to yes, very simply. But the idea is that this instrument will be deployed at the scale of a site. It could be Arbois, it could be AMU, whatever. And then after, the idea is that this tool will be used at the site, but also will be used at the scale of the France. Okay, because after you will know that which instrument you have in this lab, in this university, and so on. So it takes a little bit of time. You have to build this new tool. Is not so simple at all, but as I told you, I hope so to have a first version at the end of the year, or maybe the next year. And it will be very efficient because, as you know, the problem we have already is that if I am in CEREGE, for example, I don't know, maybe you know, but maybe some people don't know that there is, I don't know, electronic microscope somewhere in another laboratory, or I don't know, a gas apparatus, something in the laboratory of biology or whatever, that you can use. Sometimes you don't need to have an instrument every day. If you need an instrument every day or equipment every day, of course you have to buy it. There is no doubt about that. But if you use an instrument every weeks or every month, it's not necessary at all that you will have this instrument in your laboratory. You can share with other laboratory, and not only laboratory belonging to the same topic as you. Usually what we know when you are in the site, you know the instrument that you have on other laboratory in the same topics or more or less the same topic as you, but you don't know that in physics, in chemistry, in biology or whatever, you don't know. This is my own experience. We don't know, for example, in Grenoble that in physics they have such kind of instruments and so on. So our idea is to have a complete view of the equipment and to share the equipment at the scale of the site, and of course after at the scale of France. For France, it's more easy because we have national platform. So we know if you need a very specific instrument, we don't. For example, here you have one, of course, in X. So for the national instrument, it's something different. But at the scale of the site, sometimes you have double or triple the number of equipment that don't you use every day. So this is very important for us to try to do that. And also what's important is that present day, we have tools that belong to each organism. For example, you have CNRS, CNRS, CEA, I don't know, Ifremer or whatever. So it's very complicated to share. So the idea is to share in between the different organisms and of course in between university also. Not to be, to separate all the organisms. It takes time and it's complicated also. For example, for the CNRS, the people I work, they say, oh, no, we share only the instrument we have. Okay, come on. We don't know a laboratory is different organisms, so we have to share all together and not to separate between the different organisms. It's quite complicated, and the mentality is sometimes difficult to, we have a lot of barriers. Huh? Anyway, so concerning the mobility, we of course support by funding soft mobility. We reduce, of course, our business travel. A very important thing is to take into account the impact on research and on career development. My generation, we publish a lot, we travel a lot, because it was, of course, it was good for research, but also it was good for the career. You know, we are promoting because we are doing a lot of things, traveling everywhere, going international conference and so on. So I have a lot of discussion with the CNRS committee, national committee, to say, okay, and I will speak about this point after. When you evaluate a researcher, you have to evaluate the quality of the research and not the quantity of the research. And this is a very an important change And right now, we speak about this point just after. Since I were to say five years, something like that, it starts to change in the national committee. More and more, if you are some researcher here, we ask you not to give you the complete list of publication, for example. We are for the evaluation of the promotion, you have only to give 5 to 10 publications and explain why this publication was important for you, what are you doing in that, and not to give a list of publications, a very long list of publications. So the evaluation changed a lot, and this is a way to change the way to work more deeply rather than to produce a lot of data and produce a lot of publications and so on. I will discuss this point just after. I can go further about this point. About the numeric and digital, we better assess the environmental footprint of digital technology. We extend the life of the computer. Right now, this is 7 years, and we start to work to extend at 10 years because this is a very important. We buy a lot of laptop, for example. So we try to, of course, extend the life. We start also to reduce the water consumption, cooling water. And also, I don't speak here, of course, to reduce the individual plastic used during the experience. And there is a lot of, maybe you know Red Plast. I don't know if you know this team, this group. Okay, this is a group developed by the people from Bordeaux that develop a library of protocol by replacing plastic and reduce the amount of plastic used in different experiments. So I can give you the information if you're interested after. Okay, of course, so as I told you, we're accelerating the energy performance of building and encouraging sustainable food in CNRS company restaurant. Okay, maybe I have to go, I don't know, but how long? It's okay? I have to go further. Okay. So very quickly, it's quite important also to compare purchase versus repair. When you buy something, when you purchase something, it's about 0.3 kilogram equivalent CO2 per euro, more or less. Whatever you buy, it's more or less correct. If you repair or upgrade, is 2 times less. So of course, it's good to repair and to upgraded equipment. And of course, the best is to have human resources because it's quite low. It costs a lot to have human resources, but the CO2 impact is quite low in terms of research. So of course, we have to promote repairing, upgrading, and human resource. The most complicated, of course, this is your human resource because it's not a problem of money, it's a problem to hire people. It's quite complicated. For example, technician or engineering, it's quite complicated because we have limited by the number of employment at the CNRS or at the university is the same. So this is the main problem we have. So it's very difficult when you discuss with Bercy to say, please, if you want to reduce our impact, we have to hire people rather than to buy new equipment. So it's very complicated to explain that. No, we can explain, but it's complicated to obtain that. Okay, so I go quickly. So we have to buy less and buying better. So this is a strong effort to reduce our environmental footprint. As I told you, this is a significant impact. So we start to propose eligibility rule for expenditure under the next European program. We do that, and also with ANR, I have a meeting next week or a week after with ANR to discuss that, to buy less and buy better, to of course reduce our environmental impact. And also we discuss about inclusion and eco-bonus for the project. This is already done in the project, for example, Marie Curie project. This is included in the Marie Curie project, and we probably try to develop that with ANR. We'll discuss with ANR very soon about this point. What we develop also, I don't know if you know that, we develop a small tool to a priori estimate the carbon footprint of a project. I will give you, this is very simple. It takes 5 minutes to fill that. When you have a project, you calculate, you estimate before to have your project, and you can calculate very easily in 5 minutes the impact of your project. And then you can rebuild your project to say, okay, maybe it's quite high. The impact of this project is quite high. So maybe I can reduce purchase or I reduce the travel and whatever. It's not complete at all. It's longer. It's just a part of this. So if you don't have this, you can use this. It's very useful just to see the impact of the project when you build a project. Okay, so as you know, I will go very quickly on the research part. We have a lot of projects related to research, environmental innovation. For example, the greener battery, a new generation of battery. And related to that, we have a CNRS energy unit. There's more 200 research units that cover renewable energy, solar, wind, biomass, nuclear, fusion, new reactor, and so on. Storage, of course. We have a lot of projects and a special energy unit in the CNRS. We have also a lot of work, for example, of course, soil remediation that you know very well here, and so on. So I don't want to spend a lot of time about that. You know probably that CNRS is also the first contributor to the IPCC, AR6. And right now, the CNRS leads the training of 20,000 government officials on the green transition about climate change, impact, and biodiversity. We think it is a good way to inform and to form the official in the administration to change the way and to think differently about the way to do economics and so on in France. And as I told you, we have a lot of projects about the PEPR. It's represent about 1 billion. And very interesting, you can see here that among all these projects, 70 programs has related more or less to environmental transition. I will show you very quickly. There is some project that clearly dedicated to the industry, but related to the environmental transition. You have battery, of course, deep sea floor preservation, hydrogen, recycling, industry decarbonation, renewable energy, and sustainable cities. So you have a lot of projects dedicated to the environmental transition in general. And also you have a project, the PEPR Recherche, related to environmental research, such as marine genomics, fishing and biodiversity in the Indian Ocean, carbon cycle, that you know, fair carbon, natural risk, IRIMA, interactive mathematics, water cycle, this is one water, nature-based solutions, Solubiot, probably you are involved in this, and other projects that I cited just before, natural underground, sous-sol, climate modelization, tracks, and society environmental challenge transform. So we have a lot of projects dedicated more or less to the environmental transition, not only the CNRS, but of course with the other organisms and the university. To finish, I speak about just before about the publication and the way we evaluate the research. As you know, there is a strong increase of the publication. Here, this is a number of publications since 2000. And of course, you can see Elsevier and DP and so on is completely crazy. You have a amount of publication that nobody can read, of course, because you have thousands of publications published every year. So it's something completely, it starts to be completely crazy. On the other hand, correct to that, you have an increase of the scientific fraud, clearly. Okay, I don't want to okay, in general. In May 2016, Nature published a survey. 70% of the researchers have failed to replicate a result, and as many as 50% say they have been unable to replicate their own experiment. So something is not very good in the system. So it's clearly all these three are clearly correlated. Okay, we go quickly and quickly, we go further and further, and of course the experience and so on is not so good, and there are also the increase of the scientific fraud. On the other hand, you have a decrease of the quality of the paper. It's quite difficult to evaluate the quality of the paper, but it has been done in this paper, in Nature paper. They estimate that very simply, in 50, so 60 or yes, 60 years ago, you need 2 papers to have a new idea, to be simple, okay? Whatever the domain. Now we need more than 100 papers to have a new ideas, more or less, okay? So we publish too much. We publish a lot because probably, and I say we, because I'm, of course, I belong to this system, because we don't spend enough time on the paper, on the data, on the experiment, on what we write and so on. Okay, so the idea is to reduce, and it is something that have been addressed for a long time. Huh? And the CNRS signed the Declaration of San Francisco of Research Assessment. It was, I guess, 20 years ago, something like that. It was said that publish less, but publish better. So we have to do that. If we do that, we have better publication, but also we reduce the need of equipment, of consumable, and so on. This is a way, probably. This is not the only way. This is one way to reduce our impact. Is to spend more time. As I told you, human resource is very low in terms of CO2 footprint rather than equipment and so on. So if we spend more time on the data, on how we build the equipment, how we build the experiment, and how we write our paper, probably we participate to the reducing of the impact and we increase the quality of publication. Okay? So, and as I told you, since 5 years, the CNRS changed the way in which research is assessed. So, of course, both are in parallel. If we reduce the number of the publication, but the increase of the quality of the paper, the CNRS or the committee will evaluate that. All right? So, as I told you very quickly, there is, of course, we are exposed to climate change. So we have to adapt. We have to adapt. And this is, so we develop a small site. I do that with Génie Trébizan. This is engineering in GeoAzure. To try to understanding the risk at CNRS and university sites in order to anticipate them. What we do is we are looking each site. Here, for example, we are here, Campus Arbois, just here, and we use the climate evolution you are very. It's very simple. We use a tool that's called Climadiag, developed by Météo France, that can show you what will be the climate in a site in 2050 or in 2100. So I choose here in 2050, in 25 years, and to see which risks will increase, taking into account the heat waves, the submersion, or whatever. So, and also, so we use that, and also we use the platform GeoRisk that already exists, and we improve we project in 25 years, what will be the increase of the risk in a site. So for example, for you, it's not a surprise, you have an increase in heat waves, the forest fire, you have a lot of trees everywhere around you. The landslide, not in this side here, not in your building, but around in the Arbois site, and of course, flooding, okay? So the idea is to evaluate, we start to do that at the CNRS to evaluate for each site, for our building, what is the increase of risk, and to take some modification of the building or the site to try to mitigate the risks for the future. We have some very good examples. For example, in Saclay, 2 years ago, we have a strong flooding. They lost, I don't know, millions, but a lot of instruments because you have a huge flooding. The river go very high, and a lot of instruments completely destroyed because you have 2 meters of water in the floor, in the first floor. Okay, just to finish, I start an international benchmark on sustainable research. What I did is try to evaluate what the university are doing in the world about sustainable development. So I go everywhere in different universities in the world. I'm going on the website and try to find the document exactly the same as we have at the CNRS. And for that, I use all the action that we have in CNRS and try to see action have been start in all the university. And I classified those university in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 1 is a very advanced university, better than we do in the CNRS. The 2 is more or less same as the CNRS. We start to do something, okay? And 3, they have only 1 or 2 action, and 4, they are doing nothing. So probably you don't see 4 because my table is larger than 1. I just focus on the number 1, and you see the name of the university, and we understand something. Singapore, Berkeley, University College of London, Stanford, Harvard, ETH Zurich, EPFL, UNIL, Princeton, MIT, Oxford. This is not very bad university, okay? And this university is very high in terms of sustainable development. So my message is very clear, is that top universities are the most committed to sustainable development, and sustainability goes hand in hand with excellence in research. So when the people told me to do the good research, we have to mobilize all, whatever the carbon footprint. No, we can do very excellent research, taking into account the environmental transition. We can do. So we are in the CNRS underway with the university. We are not at this level, huh? Clearly no. Those universities start to be engaged in the environmental transition. Some, for example, UNIL, 20 years ago. And they make a lot of things about that. So we start. I told you 6 years ago and accelerating, but we are far away from this university. So we have to make some strong effort about purchase, about our building, about whatever to progress. But of course, the message is here. Probably one of the best universities in the world are strongly engaged in this transition. So we can do the same here, and this is not incompatible with excellence of research. So that's very important. Okay, so I think I have finished. Thank you for your attention. I will maybe see you again in 3 years to see if we progress or not. I hope so. Thank you.